It usually happens when you are completely distracted. Like you're stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic, or maybe you're standing in the shower.
Right, or just waiting in line for coffee.
Yes, exactly. And suddenly, bam, the lightning strikes. You have this brilliant idea for a product, and for about, I don't know, 10 beautiful seconds, you can see it all perfect.
Oh, it's the best. You envision this gadget changing an entire industry, changing your life, maybe even buying you an island somewhere.
It is this universal daydream we basically all share.
It really is one of the most intoxicating feelings in the world. Just that pure, unfiltered spark of potential. The feeling that you've just solved a problem that, millions of people struggle with.
But then reality sets in.
Yeah. That initial high is usually followed by a massive cliff drop. Sit down at your desk and realize you have absolutely no idea what to actually do next.
Which is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We are going to demystify that exact journey for you today.
We really are.
We're taking that abstract, fleeting light bulb moment and walking it all the way to a tangible, retail-ready product. And to do this, we are using a highly structured, incredibly detailed roadmap from Retailbound.
Right. They're a retail channel management consultancy.
Yeah, they specialize in bridging that massive gap between product creators and actual retail shelves. They have this 8-step guide we're going to unpack.
And what I love about their framework is that it strips away the romantic mythology of the lone genius. It replaces it with a highly pragmatic methodology.
Because having an idea is, what, about 1% of the actual work?
If that.
Well,
Yeah, mostly it's just hard work.
I was actually thinking about this whole process while reading through the source material, and we really need to stop comparing Invention to a lightning strike.
I agree completely.
It is much more like crossing a minefield. I mean, if you just go sprinting toward the finish line, if you step on a patent infringement, or you miscalculate market saturation without a map, your entire idea just explodes before it ever reaches a shelf.
You really have to navigate this deliberately. And the very first mine you have to avoid, honestly, is your own ego.
Ouch. But true.
The source calls for a brutal reality check before you spend a single dime. Or, draw a single blueprint. An inventor needs to prove this idea is actually necessary.
So, taking off the rose-colored glasses.
Exactly. You have to ask, is the market already completely saturated? Are there similar products out there that already fulfill the customer's needs perfectly fine?
It forces you to define the concept so clearly that it can be easily communicated to a total stranger on an elevator. Like if your vision is too muddy to explain in 30 seconds, you just aren't ready to move forward.
Right. You have to refine it first.
But let's say you survive that initial reality check. The idea holds water. Here's where I need to stop and say, okay, let's unpack this next phase.
The documentation phase.
Yes, because the source material outlines this process, and the rules are incredibly strict and, frankly, very old school.
They're definitely rigorous.
I mean, we live in an era where everyone has encrypted cloud storage, right? We have time-stamped Google Docs. Yet, the guide insists on a physical bound notebook.
Yes, specifically bound.
Consecutively numbered pages that literally cannot be removed or reinserted. You have to date it, time it, and have it signed by a human witness.
It sounds intense, I know.
You even have to take printed photos of your invention and watermark the date on them. When I read this, it felt like I was reading a manual for establishing an unbreakable chain of custody for a crime scene, but for your brain.
Why this level of analog paranoia?
Well, what's fascinating here is the precise legal mechanism driving that physical, tamper-proof documentation. In the world of intellectual property, a digital file's metadata is incredibly vulnerable in court.
Really? Even with timestamps?
Oh, absolutely. Opposing lawyers can and will argue that you manipulated the creation date on a Word document, or that you altered a server timestamp.
But a physical bound notebook, where the pages literally cannot be removed without leaving obvious physical damage. Add in consecutive numbering and a third-party witness signature on a specific date, and that creates an ironclad, undeniable timeline.
So it's offensive inventing. You have to assume someone is going to try to take it from you.
The source uses a very specific, memorable phrase for this. It says, you are protecting yourself in the long run from the inevitable idea contestant.
The inevitable idea contestant. I love that.
Yeah, someone will inevitably swoop in and claim they thought of your billion-dollar idea first. That physical journal protects your claim to the genesis of the idea in a way a digital file simply cannot guarantee.
Okay, so once you have that perimeter secured around your idea, you run into the next hurdle, proving the world actually wants it. And the source divides this research phase into two very distinct prongs.
Right. Product research and market research.
Yeah, first is product research, which means searching art databases to ensure your drawings don't already exist. And I want to clarify for everyone listening, when we say art databases, we are talking about prior art in patent law.
Yes, exactly. Prior art refers to any evidence that your invention is already known. And it doesn't just mean existing patents.
Right, it's much broader than that.
It means looking at expired patents, obscure trade magazines, or, this is crazy, even a random YouTube video from 10 years ago showing someone building something similar in their garage.
That counts as prior art.
It absolutely does. You are digging into the National Patent Office and scraping the internet to ensure you aren't reinventing a wheel that someone else already legally owns.
But the second prong, the market research, feels distinctly different. You are looking at the human element here. The source suggests hosting casual focus groups and creating online surveys to uncover customer pain points.
The distinction here is crucial. Market research isn't really about the product. It's about validating the human beings who might buy it.
Making sure they actually want to buy it.
Right. A common trap inventors fall into is asking a focus group, hey, do you like my gadget?
And people just say yes to be polite, right?
Exactly. They don't want to hurt your feelings. The source directs you to ask, what frustrates you about this specific task in your daily life? You want to discover the friction.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right. If you invent a mathematically perfect, objectively brilliant new type of mop, but people actually hate the bucket, not the mop head, your product just won't sell. The feedback determines if the underlying problem you were solving is actually a genuine pain point.
Okay, so we've survived the reality check. The idea is documented, witnessed, and safely locked in our tamper-proof notebook. The prior art is clear, and customers are practically begging for a solution to their daily friction.
We are in a good spot.
We really are. But now we face the terrifying prospect of pulling this idea out of the abstract ether and bring it into the physical world.
Ah, yes. The transition from mind to matter.
During the initial design phase, when you are brainstorming visually and figuring out how this thing will look on paper, there is a specific rule, the source list, that I found incredibly profound. It explicitly states critical eyes are not welcome.
Such a great rule.
Think about how often in a corporate meeting, or even just bouncing ideas off friends, we instantly kill a good concept by criticizing its flaws before it's even fully formed.
Human beings have this natural tendency to self-edit. We want to be efficient, so we immediately look for reasons why an idea won't work.
Yeah, we try to shoot it down immediately.
But the source points out that in the design world, early brainstorming is strictly about volume. You are defining the problem and coming up with as many answers to solve as many problems as possible.
So no filtering yet?
None. Introducing the critical eye too early freezes the creative process.
Yeah.
You need wild, messy, unpolished ideas. A rough sketch invites iteration because it feels unfinished.
Right, you aren't precious about it.
Exactly. A highly polished, perfect drawing feels finalized, which makes you hesitant to adapt it or change it.
That makes total sense. You balance those wild, rough sketches with what the source calls outlining expectations. Like listing the industrial design firms you eventually want to call just to keep a tether to reality.
Right, you need some grounding.
But a rough sketch on a piece of paper doesn't have to obey gravity. Which brings us to the fascinating, deliberate three-part progression the source lays out for creating a prototype. First, a concept sketch. Second, a 3D digital model. And third, the physical model.
It's a very specific funnel.
Right. Why this specific funnel? Why not just take your sketch straight to a guy with a plastic molding machine and see what happens?
Well, it is a rigorous process of forced translation. When you have a 2D rough sketch, your imagination is doing a massive amount of heavy lifting.
Oh, for sure. Everything works in your head.
Exactly. A drawing doesn't have to worry about material thickness or, how two moving parts actually hinge together without snapping.
Yeah.
But when you translate that 2D sketch into a computer-aided design or CAD 3D digital model, you are suddenly forced to answer practical spatial questions.
Because the software demands it.
Right. The software makes you define the exact geometry.
It strips away all the illusions of the drawing.
It really does. And then, moving from the digital model to the physical model is the final crucible. I mean, a 3D model on a screen still doesn't have weight. It doesn't have friction.
It's still just pixels.
Yeah. When you build the physical model, maybe by 3D printing it or carving it out of foam, you finally see if the thing actually functions in the real world. This deliberate funneling process forces the inventor to systematically solve the physical problems their imagination just happily ignored.
Okay, so you have a physical prototype in your hands. It has weight, it functions, it solves the pain point. Before you start sending this prototype out to massive factories who have the machinery to mass produce it, you have to lock down your legal rights.
Yes, do not skip this step.
The source brings up the provisional patent. And looking at this, wait, if a provisional patent doesn't actually require an official patent claim, an oath, or a disclosure agreement, isn't that just giving an inventor a false sense of security?
It can seem that way, yes.
Like, what actually stops a massive corporation from stealing it during the 12-month waiting period the provisional patent gives you?
This raises a fundamental mechanic of patent law that every inventor needs to understand. It's the first-to-file system.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, in the United States and most of the world, patents aren't awarded to the person who can prove they thought of it first. They are awarded to the person who files the paperwork first. The provisional patent is essentially a legal placeholder.
I see.
By filing it, you lock in your priority date with the government.
So even though the application isn't the full, official, scrutinized patent claim, it officially plants your flag in the timeline.
Exactly that. It buys you a 12-month window to perfect the physical invention, secure manufacturing funding, or even test the market publicly with the label patent pending. You do all this knowing that if anyone else tries to file a patent for the same thing tomorrow, your priority date beats theirs.
That's a huge advantage.
It is. But as the source warns, if you don't file the full non-provisional patent application before those 12 months are up, your placeholder vanishes and your idea is exposed.
Wow. Okay, so the clock is ticking. You've got the legal armor on. Now it's time to actually make the product at scale. The source dives into finding a manufacturer, and honestly, this is where I got genuinely confused by the material.
It's a complicated landscape for sure.
It lays out the entire landscape, categorizing manufacturers into makers who build from scratch, suppliers who buy existing brands, and dropshippers. So what does this all mean for dropshippers? The source says they supply and fulfill existing brands. How does that help an inventor who is making something brand new?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of the global supply chain, it clarifies why the source includes them. The guide is mapping out the entire landscape so you know exactly who you are dealing with when you start making phone calls.
So it's more about knowing who to avoid.
Precisely. If you have a brand new, never-before-seen prototype, a dropshipper is utterly useless to you. They only warehouse and ship generic products that already exist. Suppliers or distributors are equally unhelpful. They just buy wholesale lots of existing brands to resell.
So it's basically a warning.
Yes. The source includes them as a warning. For a true inventor starting from scratch, you must aggressively filter your search for that first category, traditional makers. You need a manufacturer equipped with the engineers and raw machinery to take your unique blueprints and physically build them.
That saves a ton of wasted time. You definitely don't want to accidentally pitch your life's work to a company that just slaps logos on pre-made water bottles.
No, you do not.
But once you do find actual makers, the guide forces you into a massive decision matrix. Domestic versus international manufacturing.
And this choice goes far beyond just shipping logistics. It dictates the entire financial structure of your business.
The source frames domestic manufacturing as great for keeping a close eye on quality control, while international is framed as the better bet for long-term global reach and lower per-unit costs.
Right, there are trade-offs.
But layered on top of location, you are negotiating lead times. You know, the gap between placing an order and it arriving, and defect policies. The detail that really caught my eye, though, was minimum order quantities, or MOQs.
Oh, yes. MOQs are the silent killer of novice inventors.
Really? How so?
Well, factories don't want to halt their massive production lines to make 50 units of your new gadget.
Right.
It costs them too much to retool the machines. So they set a minimum commitment. They might say, look, we will build this, but you have to order at least 5,000 units at $10 a piece.
Which means you need $50,000 in cash up front before they even turn the machines on and before you've sold a single unit to a customer.
Exactly, which is why the source emphasizes balancing your budget with your values. The guide prompts inventors to ask about factory conditions. Are they ethical or sustainable?
Because consumers really care about that now.
They do. In today's retail landscape, consumers care deeply about the supply chain, and a brand can be destroyed by an unethical manufacturing scandal. However, you might find the perfect, highly sustainable domestic factory, only to discover their MOQ requires a massive upfront payment you simply cannot afford.
So you have to navigate the tension between the ideal ethical supply chain and the harsh reality of your startup capital.
It's a brutal balancing act.
It really is. Which is the perfect segue to our end game. You have the protected idea, you have the prototype, you know the manufacturing landscape. Now you face the ultimate fork in the road.
Big decision.
Right. Do you build an entire company around this thing, deal with the MOQs, the upfront payments, and the shipping logistics? Or do you hand the keys over to a larger corporation?
Selling or licensing is often framed as the safest harbor for small inventors.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because the source material is wonderfully blunt. It breaks down the realities of licensing. You sell the rights to your idea to a massive manufacturing company in exchange for a percentage of the profits, a royalty.
Which completely bypasses the nightmare of MOQs and supply chain logistics we just talked about.
Exactly. If you lack the experience or the capital to produce items at scale, licensing opens the door to passive income.
It removes the devastating risk of funding a manufacturing run that fails. You aren't taking out a second mortgage on your house to pay a factory in another country.
But then the source lists the drawbacks, and they do not sugarcoat it. First, once you sell the idea, it belongs entirely to the company.
Yes, you lose control.
If they decide to create a quote-unquote new and improved version of your invention a few years down the line, modifying the design slightly, you probably won't see a single dime of royalties from that new version.
That's a huge risk.
And second, the absolute harsh reality. The source explicitly states it is highly unlikely an inventor will become wealthy selling their ideas to bigger companies. It says flat out, if wealth is your aim, reconsider your options. That kind of punctures the daydream of retiring to the island, doesn't it?
It's a necessary puncture, honestly. It forces you to rationally unpack the risk versus reward calculation. Wealth is a highly relative term. Are you going to become a billionaire overnight by licensing a new type of spatula to a massive global homewares corporation?
Probably not, no.
The math just doesn't support it. That corporation is taking on all the manufacturing risk, the multi-million-dollar marketing costs, and the distribution logistics. Standard royalty rates reflect that imbalance. You might only see 3 to 5% of the wholesale price.
Wow, that's it?
Yeah, they take the lion's share of the profit because they take all the risk.
But you are gaining security. You get a percentage of sales while you sleep, without risking your life savings. You are free to go back to your consecutively numbered journal and start working on your next idea. You trade ultimate control and maximum potential wealth for freedom from logistics.
It completely depends on the life you want to live.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a CEO managing shipping container delays and marketing budgets? Or do you want to be a pure creator constantly chasing the next problem to solve?
So let's take a breath and look at the train we've covered. We started with the illusion of the spark, surviving the reality check of market saturation. We built an ironclad chain of custody with physical journals to fend off the inevitable idea contestants.
We dug through prior art databases and located actual human friction points.
We banned the critical eye during brainstorming, forced our abstract sketches to obey the laws of physics through a 3D digital funnel, and planted our legal flag with a provisional patent.
We navigated the treacherous waters of minimum order quantities.
And finally, weighed the sobering math of licensing versus building an empire. Whether you are prepping for a high-stakes product meeting at your corporate job, or you are just tinkering with some gadgets in your garage this Sunday, this framework from Retailbound proves that invention isn't magic. It's deliberately crossing the minefield.
It's a brilliant grounding roadmap. And, looking at that final phase, the drawbacks of licensing, this raises an important question for you to ponder as you look at your own ideas.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Well, the source notes that if a company licenses your idea, they own it. And if they manufacture a new and improved version that technically skirts your original patent, you get cut out of the royalties. It makes you wonder, where does the true value of an invention actually lie?
That is a tough question.
Right. Is an invention defined by your initial brilliant spark of genius that solved the problem in the first place? Or is it defined by the final, perfected, newly improved version that the market actually consumes and relies on?
Because they're often very different things.
Exactly. If the initial spark and the final product are legally separated, who really invented what the world ends up using?
Oh, that is a fantastic question to leave off on. The nature of intellectual property gets wild when you really dig into the mechanics of it. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this gave you a little more clarity and a lot more confidence.
And a healthy dose of reality.
Definitely that. Next time you're stuck in traffic and that lightning strikes, you know exactly what to do. So keep those physically bound, consecutively numbered Inventors journals close at hand, and we will see you next time.